All right, welcome.
Hello, and welcome to the February 2024 edition of the Poetry Playhouse Open Mic. And we've been doing this on Zoom. Next month will actually be our 4th year. So we started these in March of 2020, amazingly. And we're happy that you're here. This month, we're featuring this book, One Albuquerque, 100 Poets, edited by Mary Oishi. The book started in her poet laureateship as a project involving readings at the local libraries all around Albuquerque. I think something like 19 of them. And then something unforeseen happened, COVID, and all the libraries shut down. And so Mary had to use a lot of creativity to get readings to happen. She'll talk about that in a second. And ended up on Zoom. And out of that came this beautiful book. And we featured Mary Oishi earlier, maybe about a year ago in this series, when this book was still in progress. And now we're happy to see her come back with many of the participants from that book. So just a short bio of Mary Oishi, Albuquerque Poet Laureate Emeritus 2020 to 2022, and author of Spirit Birds, They Told Me from West End Press, co-author of Rock, Paper, Scissors, Swimming with Elephants Press, which was a finalist for the New Mexico-Arizona Book Award, one of 12 U.S. poets in translation in the 12 Poetas Anthology. And her poems have appeared in many, many journals, and her newest book, Sidewalk Cruise Ship, I believe is coming out April 1st. Is that correct?
Yes.
From the University of New Mexico Press. So it's always such a pleasure to see you, Mary, and hear you. And I thought we would just take a couple of minutes, because I know we have a lot of readers, but just to take a couple of minutes for you to describe what the project was and what the result is.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me and for having us, the poets from this anthology and this project. It started when someone nominates you for Poet Laureate in Albuquerque, you need to propose a project, and mine was Poets in the Libraries, which meant that poets I knew who were good poets, I wanted them to read at their local library, and then I was going to have an open mic for other poets in the vicinity of the library. And when the pandemic struck, of course, the libraries all closed. So that happened between when I proposed the project and when I actually became Poet Laureate. So I pivoted and we worked it out that the featured poets would read outside the library and the city's Go TV team would come and film them. And then we would do a Zoom with all of the community poets, and that film would be added to the one that was done at the library, which also included a staff person from the library telling about the history of the library and what services they offer. So it was a real plus for both poets and the libraries. Well, when it was finished, we had this wonderful archive of the pandemic, which lives on the city's YouTube channel, which is called One Albuquerque Media. So if you go on YouTube and type in One Albuquerque Media and Poets in the Libraries, maybe if you just put Poets in the Libraries, you will get the 19 videos. They've since added a library, the International District Library, so there's now 20 libraries, but from 19 of the 20 libraries, we have those videos. And then Dr. Shel Sanchez from the city's Cultural Services Department said, well, do you want to do an anthology? You know, you're welcome to do an anthology. And I said, yes, that would be great. So the anthology includes poets who've won national and international awards, like very highly acclaimed literary poets. And it also includes people who have never had a poem published before, or maybe they did in some small publication for a group they belong to, but never had performed it publicly before. So, things like that. So there's the whole gauntlet. And I'm so pleased that 100 of the more than 100 poets who participated are included in this book. Not everyone submitted a poem, but I'm very happy that 100 poets did. And it won the New Mexico Arizona Book Award for Poetry Anthology for 2023. So this is really an honor for all of us, all of the poets of Albuquerque. I think it shows the breadth and depth of poetry in Albuquerque, which is a great poetry town. So there's more poets here than I even knew, and I thought I knew just about everybody, but no, there's many, and many who were sort of, not openly poets, but they are. I love to bring people like that out and out of the shadows and into sharing their voice, because I think all of us have an important voice.
Yeah, and it's such a great resource, as you say. Many of us, I mean, nobody knows the whole scene, and so we all discovered somebody that we didn't know about when reading this book and watching the videos, and there is an incredible, for a city, a small city, there's an incredible range, the whole gauntlet, as you say, and then again. Hopefully through this Zoom and other things, we'll be able to get people outside of Albuquerque more familiar with what is happening here as well. So congratulations to you and to all the poets. And we're going to turn things over to you to introduce your poets.
So the first, we're reading in order of how each poem is in the book. I divided the book into several sections based on, gathered around themes. And the first one was on poets and poetry. And we had the first poet, I put her bio in the chat, but I'll also read it for benefit of people who are watching this at a later time. Eileen O'Connell is a library professional who has been writing poetry for 30 years. She is the author of Visions and Revisions, a book of poetry and essays that was published in 2017. Eileen is going to read the very first poem in the book.
And thank you so much, Mary, for everything you did to make this happen. It's a privilege to be part of this. Dilemma. You ask for poems, not bread. But oh, my friend, these crumbs are all I have.
Thank you, Eileen. The next poet is Viola Morris. Viola Morris began writing poetry in her 80s while taking classes with Dodici Azpadu. She was a member of Voices of the Valley, which met for many years at North Valley Senior Center and had poems published in their monthly newsletters. Also, as a member of that group, she read at several senior centers. Her work was published in Encore Prize Poems, 2018, by the National Federation of State Poetry Societies. So Viola is going to read us the next poem. Please unmute.
How's that? Sorry. Thank you, Mary. My poem is Autumn Ditch Walk. The memory of water remains in rippled sand of the dry acequia, seems to flow in sun's filtered light The banks, still dark from rain, are riddled with holes for the lively, bright green frogs of summer. The disco ball of sun shoots through leaves of the tree tunnel, making my passage a dance of light and dark. Across the ditch, low sun sketches the bikers as pencil figures against the deepening blue sky suspended on the paved path. Caught in a square of sun, the aster bush reveals its cycle. Purple flowers replaced by red star, now tufts of seed. In the once green field, now gone to gold, sandhills scratch in the stubble of grain for morsels to fuel their journey north. My years now measured by their cycle.
Thank you, Viola. Viola. Viola is what I played, right? Yes. So that was from the Albuquerque and New Mexico section, and so is the next one, which is by Sylvia Ramos Cruz. Sylvia Ramos Cruz is inspired to write by art, women's lives, and everyday injustices. Her poems have been published in Artemis Journal 2020, Choice Words, Writers on Abortion, Southwest American Literature, and Journal of Latina Critical Feminism, among other places, and read at venues around New Mexico, and most recently on Rattle, Poets Respond Live on YouTube. Sylvia?
Thank you very much, Mary. And hello, everybody. I saw this house on New Mexico Road 1 between San Antonio and Bosque del Apache, and it spoke to me. The house in the trees speaks. I stand silent, decrepit, tired, would slump to the ground if not for this stockade of trees that hem me in so close their skin rubs mine raw in rough winter winds. Once I kept souls safe, held the cries of children, sighs of lovers, lullabies of mothers, the gruff caring of men who tilled earth from birth till death. Now, alone, I'm too old to remember why they left or when. My eyes unlidded, open to the road, hingeless mouth through which all came and went, agape. Hid and fanned in summer by flickering yellow-green leaves, serenaded by dark-eyed juncos and Steller's blue jays, accompanied by the jackhammering of red-headed woodpeckers. In winter, I stand naked to all passers-by, whose quick eyes catch me through gaps between grisly trunks. They don't quite know what to make of me. Most drive on, having glimpsed a curiosity. Some stop, come closer, stare at my state, linger, eager to decipher my tale, as if my present ruin is any clue. Leading me woes of their lives, pain and desolation, abandonment and cruelty, as though my life could not have held laughter and love, births and homecomings. Today, I watch a silvering moon, and a silvering woman watch me. Perhaps dividing the day. Let me start that. Today, I watch a silvering woman watch me. Perhaps divining the day, she too will return to the ground, every misery and joy tattooed on her heart. And I wonder, what is her story? Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. And that was the last one from the Albuquerque and New Mexico section, although we had another person scheduled, but he had a family emergency. So Gabino Noriega will not be with us tonight. So the next reader is Gina Marselle. She resides with her family, her rescue horse, and dogs. She's a teacher, poet, and photographer. She has published poems and photographs in local anthologies, and her book is A Fire of Prayer, a collection of poetry and photography. Please welcome Gina.
Thank you so much, Mary and Jules Poetry Playhouse, for hosting. Awareness for the wild Mustang, or any horse thrown away. In 2018, more than 80,000 horses were shipped out of the U.S. for slaughter. Sam Block, from America's Growing Horse Slaughter Trade. A buckskin Mustang stallion with a white star tosses his head. His long black mane flows past his shoulders. Knotted and dusty, he is full of sweat. His nostrils flare. Some government official has decided too many of his kind roam free. Capture them is a must. To keep the land alive, to keep the ranchers' cattle fed. No slaughter, the government official tells the public. Capture a must. Fight or flight. Mustang runs as a helicopter chases, rounded up into a pen. Mustang screams and paws, forced into a trailer. He screams with passion, ignored by most. Now hidden by the slam of the trailer door. Sand and dust kick up as the truck pulls out. Highway lines, miles and miles from home. Wind gust, sweep dust from the trailer top, drowning out any horse's cry. In the hour before dusk, the Mustang is quiet now. The road is smooth. A call is made in the 11th hour. He is saved. Heading to a rescue facility. A woman waits for this horse to arrive. Trailer door opens into a sandy pasture. Not free, but alive for today. The Mustang runs the line of defense, searching for his freedom, neighing for the edge of the world to return. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina. Gina's poem was one of many I got with animals included in the poem or as a theme. And the next one is from Jesse Ehrenberg. Mr. Ehrenberg's poems have been published in multiple local anthologies. His book, Surprise, won several prizes in New Mexico Press Women's Contest and a silver award in the inaugural Margaret Randall Poetry Book Contest. Jesse?
Thank you, Mary. This poem is called The Cat and I. I have seen the full moon like a ghost in the daytime and watched as it traveled across the sky. And I could feel myself turning with the earth and wondered at the miracle of me standing on this planet in this universe that we can only pretend to understand. And I have turned and looked around and seen the cat sitting in the yard, her eyes bright with thought, as she looked around and reflected on her world. And I can see no difference between us at all. Thank you.
Very nice.
Thank you, Jesse. And the person who gave him the award is up next, or the award is named after. Margaret Randall is a poet, independent scholar, photographer, translator, and social activist who was born in New York City and grew up in New Mexico. Randall is the author of more than 200 books, including Che on My Mind, Time and Language, Selected Poems 1959 to 2018, and her memoir, I Never Left Home, Poet, Feminist, Revolutionary, came out in 2020. Her most recent titles include Artists in My Life, Luck, and Home. Her many awards and honors include the Poet of Two Hemispheres Award from Poesia en Paralelo Cero in Ecuador, AWP's George Garrett Award, and an honorary doctorate from the University of New Mexico. I can't say enough about Margaret, but her reputation, I'm sure, precedes her. Anyway, tonight she is going to give us a wonderful animal poem. Margaret?
Thank you so much, Mary and Jules and John, for all your work. And I just want to say I'm so happy to be included tonight. My poem is called Not Even the Cheetah. This race to say it all before the finish line heats up, and I worry there's no more time for words, the poem you hear before I open my mouth. Half tortoise, but not half hare, maybe cheetah, the fastest animal. At times I outrace myself, and at others notice everything in my path. I must choose between two cadences, two directions, an option that wedges itself between my left cheek and shoulder, like a violin that asks to be played by the virtuoso who hides her panic attacks beneath her pillow at night. Not a matter of dueling personalities, hesitation, or days when everything breaks. Mine is a curious arc. I want to say it all before my journey fizzles and breathes its last. But if I can't, no one will be the wiser, not even the cheetah. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. And thank you for everything you've done for me over my writing life. I appreciate it so much. Margaret is a huge mentor of mine. Our next poet is going to shift us into the next section of the book, which is stories, poems that are kind of, a little more narrative. And so his name is Rich Boucher. And Rich resides in Albuquerque. His poems have appeared in The Nervous Breakdown, 1870, Menacing Hedge, Drunk Monkeys, and Cultural Weekly, among others. Rich serves as associate editor for the literary magazine Bombfire. He is the author of the poetry collection All of This Candy Belongs to Me, published by Jules Poetry Playhouse Publications. All right, Rich.
Thank you so much, Mary. I'm just very glad to be here. This poem is called In Case of Glass, Break the Emergency. Have you ever had a bad dream come back for one more night, like your mind was a stage it just loved performing on? If you asked me, I wouldn't know how to answer without giving you something to work with later on, and like any decent and true American, I don't want you to know everything unless the lawyers tell me I have to talk. Sometimes Miss Heston, the English teacher I had in 5th grade, comes back to me in a vision, still wearing that same sainted sweater. to tell me that I wasn't a terrible person for staring. My high school auditorium is no longer big enough to hold all of the people who think I'm old. And sometimes when the news happens at me, I wonder if Lady Justice likes wearing a blindfold for reasons that have nothing to do with being impartial. Sometimes I'm not young enough to handle the things that I see. You don't need to be me to know exactly what I'm in the middle of meaning. Nobody who watched the disaster movie on Netflix died from seeing it, which I think is an indictment of all of us. On a night like tonight, I want to commit some witchcraft, sing a song under my breath that might awaken the stones, awaken something real I need in me. I didn't think I'd live long enough to discover that the Statue of Liberty's first name is Karen, but that's where we are. Thank you.
That poem made me smile when I read it the first time. Thank you, Rich. The next poet, see, I think you're in a new section there. No, you're not. You're still in stories. Okay. The next poet is Kathryn Paul. She is a survivor of many things, including cancer and downsizing, and maybe some more things since then. Her poems have appeared in Last Leaves, the Examined Life Journal, Intima, Journal of Narrative Medicine, Rogue Agent, Hospital Drive, the Ekphrastic Review, Lunch Ticket, Stirring, and Pictures of Poets. You will definitely get a treat with Kathy's poem.
Aw, thank you, Mary. And I'm so pleased to be here tonight with all of you. I really, really appreciate this chance to read this poem, which is called Why Not? Why not dance aerobically in pink tutus with the Archbishop while stars doo-wop in the sky as though some heavenly disco had dropped the velvet rope, like teenage boys drop trow and let the world all in, like a card game where you don't know whether it's poker, go fish, or duplicate bridge, but you toss your chips on the green felt anyway, absent-mindedly scooping onion dip with one, hoping aces are high and don't just mean that you're the old maid again. Do people ever say it without irony? Why not? Without inflection, unself-consciously willing to try starfishing right off the pier on a moonlit night, like that kid on the movie screen tossing hope into the sky, hook, line, and it won't sink us. Who could love in this world if there were only marching and no tap dancing with abandon? So let's all carry pink tutus in our just-in cases, along with peanut butter and jelly and champagne for the road that leads us up, unspooling from one single petal into the whole wide field. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Or do you prefer to be called Kathryn? I'm sorry. Just I know you as Kathy. Anyway, so thank you very much. Anushah could not be with us this evening. She was here and she was feeling really ill, so she had to duck out. So our next poet was going to not be here because of another problem, but she soldiered on through and decided to join us after all. So I'm so happy she did. One of her poems, the poem that she has included in the anthology, was sent out with some of the publicity for this reading. So I'm sure you'll enjoy hearing her read it live. Felicia Caton-Garcia lives, writes, gardens, and teaches college in the South Valley. Felicia's poetry and fiction has been featured in the Indiana Review, Prairie Schooner, Blue Mesa Review, and Plume. Her collection of poetry, Say That, was published by the University of New Mexico Press. Felicia teaches American Studies, Chicana Studies, Creative Writing, and English at Central New Mexico Community College. Please welcome Felicia. Thank you for coming, Felicia.
Thanks so much, Mary, and thank you everyone for being here.
The title of this poem is Forlorn, and it begins with an epigraph from what I call the other OED, the Online Etymological Dictionary, which reads, in English, now often in forlorn hope, and the sense of the whole phrase is of a suicide mission. The phrase more often than not is used in English as if it meant a faint hope, and the misuse has colored the meaning of forlorn. I thought it was love when you put your lips against my ear and said, count to 10 and then I'll find you. It surprises no one that I thought this was love. I think everything is love. Or that it wasn't. It never is. It always makes sense at first to buy attention with the currency of secrets. So I told you about the high branches of the pine, the crawl space in the bales of hay, the hotel room in the center of town. So when the governor tells us to shelter in place and you tell me sometimes things just end, there's nowhere to hide. The bars are all closed. The doors of all my friends are closed. The lights are shutting off across the city. One, I say, eyes shut tight. It's a trick cruel children sometimes play. Hide and go seek, they say, to the youngest or the awkward child. You count, they say, to the one who doesn't. Then they drift away. How long does that child hide? The longest I ever hid was 7 years. 2, ready or not, I'm digging tunnels in the floor of my home. Nothing ever ends. Someone just leaves. But for the child standing alone in the yard, eyelids pressed together so tightly it hurts, everyone is still just out of sight, waiting for her. She doesn't know she is alone. She doesn't know there is no one to find. She doesn't want to let anyone down. 3, she whispers, and the light around her begins to fade. The night birds rise and shine. She shivers, arms tight around herself. 4, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Felicia. I'm so glad you decided to come. All right, our next reader is another accomplished poet. And we are moving into this was really part of the grief and loss section of the anthology, which I think was pretty sizable. Her name is Kristian Macaron. She's the author of Storm from Swimming with the Elephants Publications and Recipe for Time Travel in Case We Lose Each Other, which came out in 2022, which I rushed out and bought from Game Over Books. She is an alum of the University of New Mexico and Emerson College, where she earned an MFA in fiction. Please welcome Kristian.
Thank you, Mary and John and Jules. My poem is titled, When I Dream of Grandma, She is Hiding from Me. In my grandmother's house, the flowers don't die. They and the wind chimes have survived her. When I dream of her, she has always returned from hiding from us somewhere far away. And when we find her by accident, we ask, where have you been? But she does not answer, or she says, nowhere, Hita, and spirals her cold arms tightly in mine, her love immediate, like I can't tell her anything she doesn't already know. Mom says she was probably smoking, always hiding, somewhere in the desert, where it is warmer. And in my memory, her house is summer of summers, winter of winter. The sound of any pan on her stovetop, everything sizzles, and tortillas breakfast, tortillas lunch, tortillas dinner, tortillas, salt, water, baking powder, flour, lard, salt water, power, flowers, baking, and her heart. She was alone here for so long, and now I am alone here. I knead dough on her kitchen counter while the stove is hot. I make tortillas and I buy plants, though I can't tend a blossom. I am trying not to burn them, to be warm here, knowing her perfume is still in the wind on the porch, and she is somewhere in the desert in my dreams. And if I can't find her there, maybe what knows are the wind chimes. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristian. Thank you so much. Thank you to each of you who came tonight and are listening to these poets, and to all the poets, of course, who are reading, both in the feature and the open mic to follow. Thank you so much. The next reader lived in Albuquerque quite a while, and then she went back to Idaho for a little while, her native state, and returned to us. Of course, she couldn't stay away. Amanda Ranth started writing poetry when she was 9. Her first poems were anti-war poems. Working towards social justice on all fronts, economic, environmental, and human rights, is her passion. She self-published at least a dozen zines, and during the time she detoured to her native Idaho, she was featured in galleries and an art museum and received several residencies, awards, and arts grants. She has taught writing, performance, and storytelling across the Northwest, and was featured at Outspoken and Queer Gathering of Nations in Albuquerque. Amanda notes that she is the mother of 2 poems, Solito and Tomaris. Please welcome Amanda.
Thank you so much. I really love this anthology, and it feels like going to a party where you get to see all your friends, and it's so cool to be at a reading with so many friends, and just so grateful to be here. Things our grandmothers whispered in our ears. When the yellow turns a cyclone down the street, when the light slants across the yard, and the black crows fill the trees, calling out the names of the dead, the veil is thin. Walk towards the story. We are guided by the great wheel turning in the sky. Do you see her? She beckons you deeper into her wide eye, where all our stories are buried and remembered, buried and remembered. If you walk the icy edge of the river's mouth, you will see me, frozen in the round stones, written like a poem. Between the blue cracks and green moss, a latent hunger, the water remembers. The edges of your heart where a break has healed but never quite, leaving a soft fray like an unraveling of petal bones from the hands of clumsy children. We fall from time's grip, buried and remembered, buried and remembered. Thank you.
Wow, the grandmother poems back to back. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Amanda. So glad you came back to us. The next poet is Kharlos Panterra. He has published 1 chapbook, Autumn Equinox. His work appeared in the Washington Daily News, in Albuquerque's Two-Way Street, and in Fixed and Free in 2021. He has performed his poetry in Nuyorican Cafe and in coffee shops and larger venues throughout Albuquerque. Please welcome Kharlos.
I'm trying to get Kharlos up here. It's not letting me add the spotlight. Kharlos, are you there?
Kharlos? Maybe he lost his connection. Oh dear. Okay, well, we'll move on. If he comes back, I'll put his bio in here, but we'll move on. And if we can get him back, we will certainly put him back in the lineup.
Mary, hello.
Oh, you're there?
Kharlos.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
You just won't be able to see me, that's all.
Okay, because I'm not able to get you on the spotlight since you don't have the videos. So we're just going to be able to hear your audio.
Okay, thank you. Might be better anyway. So the title of this poem is Homage for Farinaz Khan. Open wide the tall textured doors of your heart, naturally, organically, with ease. Let Bangladesh flood in from remote villages, now desperately and resolutely independent, to love. You are the granddaughter, grieving, who passes me a photo. These are the questions from the field of tall and lush mustard blossoms. Who is the person that wants only those golden blossoms and the villager voices to be seen and heard? Who is this person who says, I don't want this to be about me? In the small photo, it is subtle, the clouds obscuring the landscape, the person kneeling, surrounded by green and yellow. You know you must return. You must go inside the films of Satyajit Ray, for your people are there. Your last grandmother waits for you, waits 2 days for you to travel to her, to send her into the embrace of the great beyond.
Thank you, Kharlos. Wow, another grandmother poem. I didn't realize that they had booked so many grandmother poems. Thank you very much. And it would have been nice to see your face, so stop that. Anyway, the next poet is someone you probably have heard before, Bill Nevins. He moved to New Mexico in 1996. Lifelong peace activist, he is a Gold Star parent whose son died in combat as a U.S. Army commando in Afghanistan. A retired University of New Mexico instructor, a publishing journalist, a songwriter, and a poet with 2 books, Heartbreak Ridge and Awe, and a 2007 feature film, Committing Poetry in Times of War. His poems appear in many anthologies, including the 2022 Reimagine America anthology. He has performed poetry from New York to the Yucatan and has hosted several New Mexico poet gatherings. He is a member of Taos Somos and poetry editor of Logos, a journal of modern society and culture, and an expanded bio will be in the chat. Please welcome Bill Nevins.
Thank you, Mary, and Jules and John. This poem has an epigraph from William Yeats from Under Ben Bulben. It goes, a brief parting from those dear is the worst we have to fear. The poem is called The Firewall. Flames broke the ridge line just the other day. A day like any other day, I would leap, I would skydive if I could. And now the winds whirl screaming so near to New Year's Eve. We would run away, but daren't leave, for this place is where we need be if any dead sons, parachutes reversed, are to raise their voices from stark caskets, urns, and dust, from the iron stars' unsleeping rust, to sing to you, to sing to me. If any dead hearts should beat or burn, if there be any new truth we might yet learn, curious as is any mountain cat, if any horseman head in hand, hand on hat, does not pass by after all, but pauses to listen, to speak, to draw near, to see what new revealing blaze may vault that silent, smoking wall of fear. Gracias.
Thank you, Bill. We are still in the grief section of the anthology. It's probably, I guess, the biggest section, but we always end up with hope and empowerment. So I like to do that. I just don't want people to be without hope. And it's easy to do that nowadays, but we can't do that because of the children. We can't. Anyway, we can't hand them no hope. So our next reader is someone who is the child of a poet, I must say an extraordinary poet, and she is very modest. So her bio is one sentence long, but her poetry will make you think it's a lot longer. Sirena Reyes was born and raised in Albuquerque, and she hopes to have a book about that someday. That's her bio. Please welcome Sirena.
Hi, thank you so much. It truly is an honor to be here. I have so much love and admiration for all of you. So really thank you for letting me be part of this. My poem is called Baby Teeth. I stare at a broken church window and bite my lip. My prayers, just another sliver of stained glass on the street where the children play chicken and who's the fastest. A hard-boiled yellow tourniquet turns brittle snake skin. Just another line of chalk on the sidewalk where the sunshine blooms. Laughter in the chubby cheeks of the little ones still learning to look both ways. But there's so much they can't see coming. No way to protect those tender smiles before their baby teeth fall out like wishes in a tired sky.
Thank you, Sirena. I think I'm in 2 anthologies with you, Sirena. You didn't bother to put all that, did you? Anyway, the next poet. We are so fortunate that he moved with his husband, I guess, right?
Yeah.
From Austin to Albuquerque. And he is the author of 3 books of poetry, Leaf and Book, Sonnets, Presents, and Vegetables and Other Relationships. I like that title. And the editor of several volumes, including Wing Beats, Exercises and Practice in Poetry, Bearing the Mask, and 22 Poems and a Prayer for El Paso, which was the winner of the 2020 New Mexico-Arizona Book Award for Poetry Anthology, just as this one was. Poems have appeared recently in Rogue Agent, Impossible Archetype, Shot Glass Journal, Literature Today, and numerous haiku journals. He was inducted into the prestigious Texas Institute of Letters for his writing during his 35 years in Texas. Please welcome Scott Wiggerman.
Thank you, Mary. And thank you everyone for being here. This is a fabulous reading tonight. Not surprisingly, I'm in this section. This is called The Mystery of Grief. It's a guzzle starting with a Dickinson line. If all the griefs I am to have would only come today. Let me play Job with punishment premium today. Another war, another bomb, another police killing. I take them on, my mind a crematorium today. We live beneath a sword dangling by a single thread. Are drugs the answer? Or will you be doused in rum today? Oh, vinegar and honey, I've cried so much. I've lost my sight. I try to speak of halcyon times, but I go dumb today. Not proud of it, but I got used to living on a cross. Let me take on your grief. I'm into martyrdom today. Our sweet silver disappeared a week ago without a trace. The world has always been this random. Why so glum today? Sorry, business. That's what the Tiwi call their mourning period. Don't leave me alone. Or can't you stand this tedium today? Why do you find it so hard to believe in bereavement? I know grief is good. I wallowed in its medium today. You'd like to ask God about loss, but that spirit has passed. Have you prayed to find something lost? I found a crumb today. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Scott has contributed so much to the poetry community here, Scott. And
Thank you.
Thank you. The next poet is, we're moving now into the, let's see, are we still in, no, we are still in one more poem in the grief section. Please welcome Sandra Vallie. She has worked in Adobe Walls, Airplane Reading, Last Leaves, the Mas Tequila Review, the Malpais Review, and PlumeForWriters.org. Originally from Michigan, she earned a BA in writing at Eastern Michigan University, briefly taught at Washtenaw Community College and in the community, and helped coordinate a monthly poetry reading series. I'm pleased that she's in the anthology, Sandra Vallie.
Thank you, Mary and John and Jules and everybody who's on here tonight. Lament. Nursing home, 3 a.m., sleep-starved and sugar-poisoned. Hard sounds of a respirator breath steady on and unremembered through that night. My mother's bed-bound body a color of fog, where her lips corner, silvery trail, morphine drool, crawls to a gauze cushion between a hard plastic tube and her neck skin, breaking a purple-black butterfly on the base of her throat. Blood oxygen falls and numbers speak the falling pressures against her thinning veins. Machine-driven respirations unappeasable. Small releases of silence. No thirst or hunger, no more holding to the waste and compost she becomes. Another small creature all life becomes, with skin and all its bones, its sinew of unwanted breath. I follow her body north at highway speeds, past freshwater springs where fear takes rest, stone-walled shelters, wildfire sagged, catmint browned, smear against the skyline, a color of fog, to head north, still and again. A burning sun rises under a new moon, and stars fall from the sky. Somewhere rest, somewhere I gather cooling starstones to warm my hands. Spring snowfall hides the biggest lies she ever told. Mourners gather. I stand to say to them, words, words rise. I place red roses into outstretched hands. A casket key turns between her body and a sun-warmed wind. Dust follows her coffin, balanced across placer bars and rollers. Wind threatens. I balance red roses on outstretched hands, a token, a stone, to fall, to knock against wood. Rose red and lily white words rise, fall, become sound sung in the empty cathedral, swallowed by darkness on the edge of her town. We turn so the men can be about their work. We turn away under a sky so clear it can only be a blessing. Someone murmurs the prayer I'll never say, steady on and unforgotten through the night. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. And now we move into the final section and the final three poets for this feature. The first one in the healing and empowerment section is Rebecca Aronson. She's the author of Anchor, Ghost Child of the Atalanta Bloom, winner of the 2016 Aronson Books Poetry Prize, and winner of the 2019 Margaret Randall Book Award from the Albuquerque Museum Foundation. And Creature, winner of the Maine Traveled Roads Poetry Prize in 2007. She has been a recipient of a Prairie Schooner Strauss Award, the Lost Speakeasy Poetry Prize, and a Tennessee Williams Scholarship. Please welcome Rebecca.
Thank you so much, Mary. It's really nice to be here and to hear everyone. This is Scansion. I am always doing this badly. In every room, I take the pulse the best I can. What is the beat, the pace? Where must I stress and where should I lean? I stumble over new names, faces I can't recall. What am I supposed to know? The room's a line. I scan for familiar faces, for familiar sounds. I talk out of turn, laugh too loud or too late, or miss it altogether. I am deaf with noise, my ears oversaturated, my brain bumping its own tune out of sync, I think. No one dances at these things anymore. I would, but won't. I long for cigarettes, those old smoke screens I used to hide behind so well. I could never imbibe enough to get the rhythm of other conversations. It's just me, sober, counting syllables by the snack table, counting emphases in the workings of some jawers' talk. They have a lot to say that leaves me muttering in counterpoint. My heartbeat, dactyl, spondy, full stop. No one forgets to breathe, but thinking too much makes even breathing strange. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thanks to all the poets who were part of this anthology. What a wonderful group. Albuquerque grows great poets. Leslie Fox is our next poet. She has an MFA in creative writing from UNM. While working on her degree in fiction, she wrote and read her poetry at RB Winning Coffee, really missed that place, and other open mics around town. She is published in Earth Ships, a New Mexico poetry collection, Earth's Daughters, and Red, a journal of the arts. She is also a librarian, which is cool for this project. Leslie.
Thank you, Mary. And yes, it's wonderful to be here. My poem is Taking Back Crow. I'm taking back Crow and Raven too. They don't belong to you. They never did. You don't own them. Noisy murder in the campus elms, yammering. Every autumn I hear them, those clamoring college crows. Raven on my wall, in my mythology, the magic, the message, the mystery. It's not yours. It just doesn't belong to you. I'm taking back my crow. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. She was one of many poets who I wanted to print more than one of her poems, but I was restricted to one per poet. Okay, the final poet is last, but certainly not least. I'm glad her poem was near the end of the book because it ended with such a high note. Juba Clayton is a griot, a storyteller in the West African tradition of using story as a tool for healing and educating, empowering, and affirming her community. Throughout her career, Ms. Clayton has been awarded many honors that reflect her devotion to improving the lives of the communities she serves. As for her poetry, Ms. Clayton says, sometimes my stories become poetry, as is the case with her first poem, Wake Up Dancing. Enjoy. Juba Clayton.
Thank you, Mary. And thank you, everybody. I really enjoyed this experience. This poem is called Wake Up Dancing. I'm going to wake up dancing to myself This self with its nappy head and ashy elbows, this self that is the blues. My testimony to not running away from what is. I celebrate you, blues. You took a long time coming, you tell it like it is, witnessing, gut bucket, low down, coarse, ill-mannered, tell the truth blues. You are my way of getting through another hard day. I celebrate you blues that have given birth to names like Sippy and Muddy Waters and Bo Diddley and Joe Blue, who have watered my mouth with their sweaty brows and wet handkerchiefs, made my eyes dance with their red suits and low-cut dresses and healthy bodies. I celebrate the strength that comes pouring out of those notes into my ears, into my blood, into my soul. Make me strong, blues. Make me strong like Bessie, who established her own province and then made herself queen. Make me strong like Billy, strong enough to take you to hell and back on one note. I take back what was mine, what was given Memphis Minnie and Big Mama Thornton and Coco Taylor and Gladys Bentley. Free agents, corsets off, hair bobbed, gin at the hip, they sang their freedom. I want what you gave them, what's mine, my river, the blues that we took out of the back room and put up front, my blues that came from nothingness, from want, from desire. Blues may not make you happy, but makes you free. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Juba. Thank you to everyone who came tonight, and thank you to Jules and John for hosting this wonderful event. And I hope when they send out the link to the recording, you will share it far and wide with your friends and other poets. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mary. That was just wonderful. And thanks to all the poets. Wow, what a collection of poets. Wow.
And one last thing for the recording. If you want, where's the best way to buy the book, Mary?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's in local bookstores in Albuquerque. It's in all of the public libraries in Albuquerque. And I know you can get it on Amazon,
but
maybe you can have your local bookstore order it.
Yes.
You could ask Bookworks or Organic Books or one of the other
there are people here
local ones to
the
do
area.
it.
So, yeah.
Mary, did you want to read a poem?
Oh, no, I'm fine this time. You can have me back when my new book comes out.
Well, thank you so much. And I invite everybody to watch this again. And thanks for another wonderful reading.
And I was wondering if we could just unmute for a second and give a round of applause to Mary and all the poets. Yeah.